A lot of us are very good at expecting that others listen to us while not being so good at listening to them. So if nothing else, if you want that courtesy extended to you, you've got to extend it to others. So in my opinion, here's how to do that. As a prerequisite to all of this, it's very important that you are authentic in your desire to listen to people. That you do it because you genuinely want to, and not because you have an agenda, not because you want to come across as though you're a great listener when the reality is you don't care or something like that. Because people can see through that. And so the way that I achieve this is I look at it as though unraveling the mystery of what someone else is thinking and feeling is like unraveling one of the greatest mysteries in the universe, because you never really know that for sure. So it's like this exciting adventure where you're hearing about the story about somebody else's life and getting a glimpse into their mind. And so once I've incentivized it like that for myself, then it's much easier for me to be authentic because I actually want to listen to them. Now, in the actual process of listening, there are a number of things you've got to do. One of which is don't interrupt. And that does sound a little obvious, but most people do it without realizing it for a number of reasons. We're very eager to talk about ourselves. And so whenever we hear something that we can relate to, we just want to jump at that and say, here's this similar thing that I've been through and the entire story about how that came about. But once you've done that, you've just stolen the mic from somebody and you're no longer listening to them. Sometimes we think that we're empathizing by talking about ourselves, but you're really not. Other times, you just can't deal with the awkward silence when someone isn't entirely done talking, but they just pause because they can't think of the word or they're just trying to articulate it properly. But you've got to exercise a little bit of restraint. Don't give into the temptation to just always be talking about yourself. Also reduce the number of self-referring pronouns like I and me. This is how I feel and this is how it affected me. Focus more on how do you feel? Is this what you're trying to say, etc. And it's okay to have a little bit of awkward silence. Don't kind of think that every time there's a period of silence, you just need to start talking. Because even when someone's done talking, you've got to take a few seconds to process it. And when you are silent, it shows that you're being inquisitive rather than dismissive. And on that note, being dismissive is just one of the many ways in which people aren't trying to actually understand what you say, which is a very important component of good listening. You have to actually try to understand what somebody's saying instead of just either waiting until they're done talking just so you can get your piece out there and treating what they said as though it's just ambient noise, or by being dismissive. And so when you're being dismissive, you're looking for the quickest and easiest way to just kind of categorize what somebody said so that you can understand it more easily and more quickly. So, for example, I expressed an opinion to somebody once, and their response was, oh, so you're conservative, so that's why you think this way, right? And I couldn't help but feel like they hadn't listened to a word I just said, because I'm not that simple-minded, and nobody else is, where it's just like, oh, I'm conservative, and therefore I have this opinion. Right? It takes a lot more thought and a lot more time to really understand what somebody's saying. And I think a great way to put a good effort forth, at least, is to empathize with the person. Put yourself in their position. Ask yourself, why would you think this? How do you feel? What position are you coming from? What information would be most helpful for you right now? So for example, if somebody is confiding in you the fact that maybe they had a bad day at work, well, put yourself in that position. Maybe you want somebody to help you feel a little bit better. Maybe you want a little bit of feedback on how to deal with a lousy coworker, and you want somebody to take your side, etc. And then base your response on that more so than anything else. So to recap, be authentic, don't interrupt, and actually try to understand instead of just hearing. So the next time you find yourself in a conversation, try these out and let me know how they work for you. With that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.